Go ahead, Chris.
All right. Good morning, everyone. It's January 21st, 2020. We'll call the Wright County Board of Commissioners meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Good to see a nice little crowd here this morning. Welcome, everyone. The minutes, County Board minutes from January 7th, 2020. Is there any changes that need to be made?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from January 7th.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Vesh, seconded by Commissioner Delyden. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. The agenda, is there anything that needed to be added to the agenda or removed?
Madam Chair, as far as items for consideration, there's a letter here. Item B, I don't know if you want to just address that or pull it off the agenda, even it's, whatever.
Well,
But I think it's kind of a moot point right now, so
yeah.
Well, I think we can talk about it at that point.
Yeah,
that's fine.
we should discuss it.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as written.
Second.
All right, motion made by Commissioner Delyden, seconded by Commissioner Potter. Is there a discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
The consent agenda, anything you would like to remove for discussion?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Potter, seconded by Commissioner Delyden. No discussion? All right, hearing no discussion, all in favor? Aye. Motion passes. All right, we move down to the timed item, 9:02. And we have Olga Strobel from the IT, she's our IT Business Solution Manager. Olga, welcome.
Good morning, Board.
Morning.
I'd like to introduce you to two of our new team members in the IT department, Regina and Kevin. Regina is our new records management analyst, and she comes with a background with healthcare records, and Kevin brings over 30 years of project management.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Would you like to step up to the podium and say a few words, or? People can see you on camera.
That was a job requirement here.
In other words, we're going to drill you with all sorts of questions.
I've already seen Kevin's updates already, so he's already off and fast and running, so.
So,
Sure, I'll go first. Thank you for this introduction, and I appreciate being part. I'm not prepared for this. Sorry.
you're doing well.
But I appreciate being part of the Wright County community and look forward to working with everybody here.
Great.
So where do you live?
I live in Burnsville,
Oh, little commute.
so it's a bit of a trek here, but it's manageable.
Yeah. Great.
I'm Regina. Thank you again for the introduction. I come from Buffalo Hospital, or Alina, and I live in St. Michael, raised my kids in the community, so I'm happy to be staying within the community to serve our community.
Wonderful.
Great, thank you.
Welcome aboard, both of you. Thanks for joining our team.
You did real well for not being.
Yes.
I only counted 2 odds.
The counter.
I hope no one counts them for me.
All right, Mr. Bob Hebeloff, our auditor treasurer.
Hey, good morning, Board. Just kidding. The first item on the agenda is to approve a temporary liquor license. We have a motorcycle event at the Rockford Township. American
Bikers Advocating
Yeah.
Training and Education.
I've
There you
written
go,
that
thank
down a couple of times, and I
I haven't written
remember
down.
it.
I just.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the temporary liquor license for ABATE.
all right.
Did you second?
Made by
second.
Commissioner,
Second by Commissioner Burrell.
seconded by Commissioner Burrell. Is there any discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Motion passes.
Madam Chair, in your package, you should have received the very preliminary December budget reports. I want to caution that that's preliminary. We do have a lot of adjustments to be made, a lot of budget carry forwards. So really, it's a draft right now for you. I don't have anything to draw your attention to that I hadn't in the past, but I'm here if you have any questions.
Does anyone have any questions?
Not this time.
Ms. Chair? Yeah, I was looking through it, and there definitely needs to be some cleaning up on it, because it seems like there's some really confusion things in there. When I was reviewing it, I started making a note of what it was, but then I realized it's preliminary, and I thought, nah, I'm not going to waste.
You're gonna get a lot of,
everybody's time.
Yeah.
get a lot of those, they haven't sent the bill yet, or the revenue hasn't come in that yet, and.
Yeah,
Certain actions you've taken that we want to make sure we transfer the 19 budget into 20 as well.
Correct.
when do you think you'll have the final?
Well, the accruals will go through the end of February, so sometime in March or early April.
March, April, yeah.
Just be curious on what the actual turn back is, because I noticed that some of the revenues are down
Yes.
quite a bit. I'll make a motion to approve the December revenue expenditure budget report.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Glyden, seconded by Commissioner Potter. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Madam Chair, if I can remind you, today you're going to be meeting with the audit team up in the conference room, whenever you're ready.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Morning, Board.
Morning. Not quite at 9:09,
The
but
resolution.
we're okay. We're close enough to 9:09.
I'll be brief.
Yeah.
I submitted a resolution to accept a grant from the Minnesota DNR for snowmobile safety enforcement. 2-year grant, non-matching, totaling, I think it's $10,964. Each year we get about $5,400, used for snowmobile law enforcement, training staff, youth training classes.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner
where
Glyden.
do you do the youth training classes at? Is that part in conjunction with some of the other organizations?
We host them at the law enforcement center. We usually do one per season depending on the need or the people asking for them, so.
I guess I've never known
Youth part?
that Wright County did the training.
We host the one day field test. You gotta do the online training through the DNR website. Your certificate that you've passed that, and you sign up for the one day class at the law enforcement center. It's about a 6 or 8 hour day.
And that's, let's see, anybody over 12 or 10 that has to have
Yes, 12.
12?
Got a training.
You can do it 12 to 18, you can do it online with one class in person. Anybody over 18 can do it 100% online. Basically, if you were born after December 31st, 1976, you carte blanche have to have a snowmobile safety certificate to operate a snowmobile in Minnesota.
Commissioner is correct, yes.
And I'm glad, because us old people, we know how to run that stuff.
Put everything in the ditch already, we know.
Well, that's what the snowmobiles are supposed to be, in the ditch.
That's great.
I've never driven a snowmobile.
And the
Driven a
cost
lot of
is
things.
online, 100% is $29.
Okay, that's,
And this is a resolution too, right?
Yes, Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the resolution for the DNR
Second.
snowmobile safety grant.
all right. Motion made by Commissioner Potter, seconded by Commissioner Burrell. Is there any more discussion? And we
Yeah.
have,
Madam Chair?
yes.
When is your next class? Because Commissioner Newsom says she's never driven a snowmobile. We really think she should be at that class.
Well, I'll keep you posted.
I am a very good driver, though. All right. So the resolution is in Minnesota to accept the Minnesota DNR awarded Wright County Sheriff's Office with a grant in the amount of $10,964 over 2 years, and for the enforcement of snowmobile laws, staff training, and youth training classes. And to note, no goods or services were provided in exchange for said donation. So, with that being said, no more discussion?
Resolutions.
Yes, yep. So I will start with you, Commissioner Burrell.
Aye.
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 Resolution passes unanimously. Thank you, Chief Deputy.
Thanks, Matt.
All right. Are we up to
So,
we're kind of ahead of time here, but we're pretty close. For Seth Hansen, our Emergency Management
I'm
Director.
grandfathered into that, so I didn't have to take it.
Just barely, right? Just barely.
Barely. All right, and you,
Madam Chair and Commissioners, I have a resolution in front of you for a hazard mitigation grant, and it's to ensure our contribution to the hazard mitigation plan update process and our desire to participate in it. It is a matching grant, but our time, city's time and township times are counted towards that, and we'll make that so there won't be any cash out of hand. But this plan is needed in case we have a natural disaster, a man-made disaster. If we don't have the plan, we're not eligible for funds.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution updating the Wright County Hazardous Mitigation Plan.
all right.
Second.
Made by Commissioner Vetch, seconded by Commissioner Potter. Is there any other discussion? I guess just as a note, after FEMA approval and during project implementation, Wright County acknowledges that it's responsible for providing a minimum of 25% of all eligible project costs or a minimum of $17,260 in local matching funds to comply. So, and you stated that, so. All right. More discussion? Hearing none, resolution, Commissioner Vetch.
Aye.
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 Resolution passed unanimously. Thank you, and thanks for everything you're doing with emergency management. All right,
Madam Chair, you are quite efficient. You are gaining time.
I guess so. So why don't we, since we're this much ahead of time, we've got 10 minutes, so why don't we do the advisory committee, advisory board updates?
We should go to items, Madam Chair, you should,
Oh,
maybe we
I
should do
guess
the workshop and just do the workshop minutes really quickly here.
Thank you, Commissioner Vetch, that's a good suggestion, so. And Administrator Kelly, will you take that?
Sure. As mentioned, the board met at a workshop on the 14th of January. We had a couple logistical things that we needed to schedule as our scheduling meetings for the for the auditor treasurer and the ditches, as noted there. So we'll have a public hearing for reestablishment of records on County Ditch 13 on February 19th, 3:45. We also discussed upcoming months with 5 Tuesdays in them, March being one of them, and decided to cancel the 3/31 county board meeting. Next item, we had a couple things that Greg from Veteran Services presented. He gave an update on the number of veterans and their records that we've had in the county. When he took office, there was quite a few file cabinets down there, and he took the initiative to get those digitized. So good work to him and his staff. We also talked briefly about the veterans' property tax exclusion in Minnesota and kind of the impact of that to the county and its veterans. Talked a little bit about the 2019 Operational Improvement Grant that they get annually. And so he provided some great statistics about the number of walk-ins and contacts and such that works with his department that he tracks. Then we talked economic development. We had a presentation by Heidi Pepper, who was the, I believe, first Wright County Economic Development Partnership Director several years ago. So kind of gave an overview of her time in that role and some of the challenges she saw in that role, as well as some of the things that she would recommend for us moving forward. We then discussed the Wright County Economic Development Partnership had sent us a letter regarding the future of that position, as it will be open with Dwayne Northagen retiring in the early part of the year. They had provided two different options on how to proceed with the executive director and asked for some additional funding from the board in order to help that recruitment. Ultimately, we decided on the second of those options to increase the county's annual contribution to the Economic Development Partnership to $130,000. Was noted that is we do request having a second commissioner representative on that board. The last item, we had planned to review workshop topics and some of the scheduling of when that comes in. So the list is provided there for you. Staff have updated the list and we'll bring it back for review. So quick summary of the workshop minutes.
All right. Anyone have any corrections or additions or any
I'll make
Would
a
you like to
motion.
discuss?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
All right,
Second.
motion made by Commissioner Delight, seconded by Commissioner Potter. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes to accept the minutes and recommendations. All right,
Now we're back on up in Highway.
yes, we are still a little ahead of schedule, but we do have, oh,
7:15?
Right on.
I'm sorry. Yep.
9:15.
No, 9:15 we're there.
Yeah, 9:15.
Yeah. We just have.
Only a minute ahead, so welcome, Chad.
No, he's supposed to be here at 9:15.
Yeah.
We just have one item for your consideration today. It's setting a date for a committee of the whole meeting to discuss the items that are listed. And we can always add to those if you'd like to at this time.
All right.
And we have some suggested dates that work for Virgil and I.
Does anyone have any preference?
On Tuesday at the board meeting, after the board meeting.
Did you have any recommended dates, Chad?
Just the ones
It's
that
on the
are
bottom.
basically the week of the 3rd through the 6th, not
There's-
counting Friday.
The first date suggested is Monday, the 3rd, in the afternoon. I'm open that day.
It would be better if it was later in the week for me.
Do you want to go?
What about Tuesday after the board meeting?
Yeah,
That's
That
PM.
works.
Tuesday they have PM, so you'd have to be after lunch.
just after lunch.
Tuesday works.
Tuesday works, if
I'd be
that's
good
fine.
with
You want to do
that.
1
Yeah.
o'clock?
Will one work, so we're not rushed for lunch or anything? I know sometimes that causes an
That'll
Be good.
1's good.
1 p.m.
1 o'clock.
Okay.
1 o'clock, February 4th.
10 o'clock?
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock, yeah. We have a pretty hefty list of topics, so 1 would be good, so we don't.
Is there a motion to set that meeting?
So moved.
All right, motion made by Commissioner Potter, seconded by Commissioner Vetch. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you very much.
Motion passes. Thanks, Chad.
Appreciate it.
Enjoy the rest of the day. Are we close enough to 9:20? Would you like to do another item for consideration?
I think we're close enough.
All right. All right. We have Mr. Mark Mattice with us today. Morning, Mark.
Chair, members of the board. A couple orders of business for you today. A few meetings ago, you authorized me to work out a agreement with Cedar Lake Conservation Club on a CD3 station. That agreement reviewed by myself, I guess it was written kind of by me, and then reviewed by Cedar Lake, Brian Osselson, and the Park Commission. Forth to you for your authorization of signatures. Not sure who you want to sign it, and if you want to sign it, but it's in front of you for that consideration.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Valli.
this this unit is a good trial for Wright County to see how much it gets utilized. Hennepin County's been using these, and they get a lot of use out of them. So I think it'll be a good way to help residents and non-residents alike coming off the lake to get their boats cleaned up and stuff. So I think it'll be a good trial. We were concerned about, at the Park Commission, we're concerned about some odors and stuff like that. But as part of the contract, it gets cleaned out every week or something.
Yeah, we'll clean it.
I'm interested, just from the DIS group that we're just kicking off, that was kind of going to be a discussion piece, but I think it's good that from the county taking it out at Cedar and seeing what the utilization and kind of what pros and cons we have to it, so.
Yeah, I really appreciated the presentation about it, and to, see what they're doing with technology now and really improving this, so making something that's, more affordable and portable, and so I
We
appreciate
plan
it.
on purchasing the one that's on a trailer.
Honestly.
So when you run for re-election, you can have it in the parade.
They can take it to the parade and show people what it is, are you saying?
Yeah.
Right.
Education.
Oh, now every Sunday, all summer long,
Oh, no,
Mark,
yeah,
you
check
just,
it out.
yeah.
So if you want to authorize signatures on that agreement, I think it's fairly simple. It's a 5-year agreement.
Okay, yep.
If you want Lee, myself, or the board chair to sign it, we weren't sure who you'd want to sign that.
I
Is
guess
there,
it doesn't really matter who's, I mean, because the dollar amount is under the threshold, doesn't necessarily have to have the board chair signature, but.
Right.
I'd say just let Mr. Mattice sign for it, it just make it more convenient and easier,
sure,
Yeah.
since we know all about it and we're approving it. I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of the CD3 station at Shorter Park.
Second.
all right, motion made by Commissioner
And that is
Glyden.
to authorize Mark's signatures.
And authorize Mark's signature.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is that agreeable?
As long as
All
he
right.
spells his name correctly.
Yeah.
Commissioner Glyden
Parents
made
can
the
afford a
motion, and Commissioner Potter seconded the motion
Yes.
to authorize signatures and have Mr. Mattice sign for us. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
And motion passes unanimously. All right, adopt the River Regional Trail Master Plan. This was quite the plan we have here.
Yeah, hope you had some good weekend reading during the snow.
143 pages.
Yep, very intense. So, the Great River Regional Trail is, as you know, the Crow River Regional Trail, we did a master plan with our partners a few years ago. We adopted that plan. Actually, phase 1 for the Crow River Regional Trail, we were notified that we received the legacy grant. So in 2021, from Delano South, we'll be getting implemented in 2021 through Baker Park Reserve. So the plan's working on that. And then the Great River Regional Trail is our other regional trail that will go from where the Crow River Regional Trail terminus is in Dayton out to Clearwater, which will hook into the Wobegon/Beaver Island Trail at some future point. That's the plan. Cities of Otsego, Monticello, Clearwater, townships were invited to planning meetings. Everything was there. This started last summer. Park Commission had it in their December meeting, and then tabled action so they could review it at more detail, ask some questions. This is the final plan in front of you for adoption. The Great River, hopefully, Regional Trail Master Plan, and that would be our 2. And then I got to petition Mr. Hausman to see if I can become part of your lost funds for trails.
I'm sure, I had a question.
Yes,
You read it?
Commissioner Brown.
And Mark, I know, are there ever going to be any plans, I know it's kind of a prediction, but like to get from this trail, like down to Bertram, to connect some of the,
Those would be local trail connections.
that'd be local trails.
That'd be local trail connections, not that they couldn't be ours, but we look at those as local rather than regional.
But that's something, I mean, a person should be trying to figure out a route early on before something,
And there's planning stages in that, but it doesn't take the designation process to become regional and be able to go after legacy
Okay.
funds.
Mark, is that something you guys would talk about at the park board then?
Well, there is some trails that Monticello already has that's kind of heading out towards
Towards it.
Bertram.
Yeah, we
Just
have-
have to,
Oh, absolutely. The whole idea is to be able to interconnect everything.
right.
We have one on the east side of the park coming off
It goes,
Chelsea.
it connects
Behind-
up with Chelsea, yep, but you can actually, through Chelsea, conceptually, within the next 5 years, they'll be able to actually connect up into Mississippi Park, just through the sidewalks and through the, yep.
Underpass and
Yep.
stuff like that, so that's kind of in the works.
Yeah.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
so I just want, first question, so this is still conceptual.
Very much conceptual.
Okay, I just want to make sure that, because, once again, we're still working with landowners, that this isn't a hard and fast line. It may be showing it through your backyard at any potential point, but this is still conceptual, because,
That is a wide line.
yes, wide line.
The plan.
Just because I've had a number of homeowners in my district that, because it runs pretty much the entire length of my district.
I've had them say, I don't want that in my backyard, and I've had some say, when are you gonna get this done? I want it now.
yeah.
Exactly, and I think I want people to understand that this is a decade, maybe longer goal. Couple decades, yeah, this is
So you're saying the NIMBYs and the
conceptual.
NOWBYs.
And as we acquire each segment, it'll be more defined on where it'll be. So I just want people to understand, if you're way up in Clearwater, it could be a mile one way or the other from where it shows on this map, so.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up, Commissioner Vetch.
So, yeah, each phase would come with a lot more detail. It's just an overall.
And I didn't see a map on here that shows this, but when you go south of Delano, this is going to connect up.
That's the Crow River Trail.
Yeah.
That's a different one.
That is, but,
But that will connect to the loose line.
right, will it connect up with this trail then too, or not?
Someday we hope so, yes.
Someday? Because then you'd be able to go from Clearwater all the way over to Otsego, down to Delano and out to, what about Brownton?
You go to Brownton, or if you want to go into the metropolitan mess, you can go.
That's right, you can go the other way too,
Yeah,
yeah.
on the loose line.
That loose line trail is really something, so it's really long already.
Charlie, it's all about Judge Halsey.
I,
He can get on his bike and go for lunch.
Burgess Falls to Plymouth,
Well, yeah,
we're the missing gap.
a lot of long-distance bikers out there.
I do
What's
want
nice
to,
about this one is that you have Otsego, which is a good population-based Monticello and Clearwater. And if you take, and you say the average bicyclist recreation person's gonna go 6 to 7 miles, they're connecting right there between the towns. So it's not like it's like a 30-mile trail where 6 miles in each way are used and there's 10-mile gap in the middle that's not used, so.
Yeah,
Madam Chair, I just want to also point out that the intent of this is it to be 80% grant funded, is the goal. So this, and I think we can all relatively agree that in order for this to happen in any kind of timely fashion, we're going to be working on that goal. So the more local funding that it takes to make this happen, the longer the timeline is it likely for it to be for fruition.
Right.
all right, anyone else have any questions or comments?
Madam Chair, the one nice thing about this master plan being in there, as Monticello and Otsego's pretty much growing. Clearwater, Clearwater's talking about annexations and stuff, and we talk about plats out in the county. You can start getting that right away, and that trail alignment through park dedication funds, rather than having to go and buy from individual owners too, over time, as you have this
Over time.
plan.
Mark, are there, and this is not related to this so much, but is there any plans to connect Collinwood Park up with like the DC Trail on Highway 12?
There's been discussions, but not a lot of planning.
Okay. That would be nice for that area too.
High-speed zone there on 12, and you'd have to go down Rhodes Avenue from 12 down, basically.
Right.
Yeah. There's been talks, but no set plans.
Okay.
Well, the township out there isn't interested in taking care of their part out on 12, so
Yeah,
I doubt there's much interested in.
helping develop a trail.
They would like us to turn that back to the parks. Get out of it.
Yeah, they don't want to be dealing with it at all.
All right,
With that,
there-
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to adopt the Great River Regional Trail Master Plan and authorize the Park and Recreation Department to apply for regional designation through the Greater Minnesota Regional Parks Trail Commission.
all right, motion made by Commissioner Potter, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Delyden. Any more discussion?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Potter?
Mark, I was on those couple of those regional active living things for a while, and the backbone coming up the Crow, and these ones, when those all get done, they're gonna be great. I mean, I see people on bikes, different parts, the counties around here, all the time.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, large groups. Judge Halsey, he takes his bike from Monticello down here in the summertime. I mean, he's on that thing all the time. I mean, it'll take a while to get there, but it'll be nice when it's all said and done. And it's a
Lot of planning.
a less expensive recreational thing than some of those other alternatives out there that are sitting.
But again, it's
Thank
a
you.
plan.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
Plans are subject to change as
Yep,
things come up.
Well, the legacy grant goes on until 2035, right?
correct.
Yeah, so
Few years.
it'll be there.
All right. Resolution, Commissioner Potter.
Aye.
Aye.
Right.
Aye.
Aye. Resolution passes. All right.
Thank you.
And then,
That was,
that
That was it.
was it?
That was C.
Yep,
thank you.
thank you. All right. So items for consideration, we've already covered the county board workshop minutes. And now we're to item B, executive order 13888 regarding refugee resettlement.
Madam Chair, I think in light of the injunction by the Maryland federal courts, or the federal courts in Maryland, basically making this subject mute at this point, I see that there is no reason for us to take any action at this time. And for which reason I would ask that we table it.
Second.
Motion made to table this, and second by Commissioner Vetch, seconded by Commissioner Potter. Any discussion?
There is no discussion on table matter, is there?
Not really discussion on, no, not on tabling.
Table.
But it's the content.
Yeah, the content, as part of the packet, there was some information, but there is some other information that was provided to us by Association of Minnesota Counties.
Yes, there's been a lot of different things. I know I forwarded your direction from both AMC and the Department of Human Services, so.
Was there a link for that at all? I mean,
Yes, they have, I don't
Oh,
remember the
the-
exact title, but on the AMC site, they do have a link with their informational topics.
Okay. Is there any link from the Wright County website? Just so
Not
people-
currently, no.
Because there's some additional information in there, but even if
Yeah.
we did say we weren't going to do this, that we could still end up potentially having to do it anyway.
There's so much that, so many unanswered questions, and a lot of people have a lot of confusion about what this is. So, Minister Kelly, is it appropriate to take a vote on the tabled issue and then have a discussion? Or do we need to have a discussion about
Madam
going forward?
Chair, Madam Chair, I don't want to take too much of staff time and just time in general for something that likely is, depending on what the court's doing, it may be futile for any discussion that we have at this point. So I think it's best that we leave it alone, see what the courts decide on, and at that point, there'll be some clarity to it, and we'll be making a decision based on that clarity.
Clarity, and perhaps being able to have a public meeting and that kind of thing.
Yep.
So we can bring people in and,
Madam Chair.
yes.
That's what I was going to get to, is that if point in time the feds do something one way or another, that's the point in time to get this Rochelle King and have a public meeting so people can get, here it is, what's going on.
So we were able to hear from everyone, and did that answer your question?
That was going to be my request. I know there's a lot of interest in this and a lot of people that would like to have come. So, and I've never been to one of these, so I don't know if I should have asked for
And
recognition.
I will just ask for your
My name is
your
Eric
and-
Fredrickson,
Yeah,
and I live
yeah.
in Buffalo. And again, I thank you guys for all of the work you do. I've never gone to one of these meetings, and there's a lot of thankless work that most of us don't have any interest in. So I apologize that I'm ignorant about
No.
coming to these meetings. But yeah, that was the request I was going to make, that, you know, if you guys table this, if you could make a public meeting and have some announcement of that so that people can come. And then that way there's going to be a good decision with plenty of input. That would be my
Yeah,
request.
and thank you for your comments, Mr. Frederickson. We definitely will do that. We'll publish, if we, I don't know what time frame we're looking at, but, I think most of us have received comments from the public on both sides of this issue, and so it would definitely be in order, if this is resolved at the federal level, that it come before the people of Wright County. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.
And Madam Chair, just like say, Rochelle King, she's the state refugee coordinator, that would, at the point in time, if that comes up, have that person come out for evening meetings so the public can actually attend, and you got that person from the state here, answer, here's the questions, ask the questions.
Yep, I
I
think,
mean, I always look at these things when you get pushed with ultimatums, it says, what does it mean if you say yes, if you say no, what does it mean? If you say yes, all of a sudden you get flooded with HHS, and we go ask the state for help, say, well, you said you're gonna accept them, that's your problem. The federal government's guilty as that as like crazy. They say either you adopt 55 mile an hour, otherwise we're withholding highway funding. You do this, 0.08, or we're gonna hold this funding. I mean, and those are the kind of questions I want to get answers. Where's the stick and the carrot with this deal?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I just want to note that, we're likely probably 12 months out from anything, because by the time it goes to the courts, and it'll probably be appealed, and until the appeal process is done, we're probably a year out from any kind of public hearing or any kind of decision on it. And that's if it's a decision that brings it back to us for a decision, so.
Correct.
I just don't want anybody with any inclination of thinking that this is going to be back here in the next 30, 60 days. That's
Right.
very, very unlikely.
It's gonna be a long
No,
process,
Madam
and
Chair, just let the public know what the game plan is if it should come back.
we'll definitely be very public with, whatever we do going forward. If it's gonna come back and as you said, move to have a public meeting for it.
Madam
And-
Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Delighten.
can we get that information from Association of Minnesota Counties link out on our website, so at least there's some information out there for the public?
I think that would be a
Sure.
good thing, sure.
And work on getting some things out there.
All right.
Perfect.
Is there any more discussion?
No.
Motion made to table this until a future date when we have more information and find out what the judge is doing and the courts, how they handle it. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. And thank you for Kenny. All right. Now we can go to advisory committee, advisory
There
board
we go.
updates that I tried to push earlier. Here. Who would like to start?
I
Commissioner
can
Burrell?
start off. I think I got a little catch-up to do here because I missed one, I think, last week. Did we have?
No.
We had workshop.
Oh, so we did, yeah, that's why I'm so far behind.
And I
Anyway,
left my safety.
January 8th, we had the One Watershed, One Plan, and we do have a memorandum of cooperative agreement that's going through the legal attorneys right now, circulating. I have a draft copy of it, so I'll leave it in the back so anyone wants to look through that, just kind of an FYI. And then on January 13th, Commissioner Hewsome and I were part of the Wetland Appeal Board, and this was an item, actually, this was probably the item that, oh, Commissioner Hewsome stepped out.
Keep talking.
But this was the item that kind of, the tipping point that where we almost brought the Wetland Conservation Act back to the county for enforcement. They failed to grant it about a year ago, I would say, Commissioner Newsom?
Probably.
When, they failed to grant it on a 3-2 vote, and now with 2 members of our county board on the appeals board, it passed 4-3. So the same 3 people voted against it, even though the temp panel said they're cool with it, basically, whatever. So it's still disheartening to me that we have to, jump through that many hoops for someone who did the entire process exactly right, willing to pay the replacement 2-1, just like the law says, and then gets a no vote, before. So it, like I said, it passed on a 4-3 vote this time, so I was happy about that anyway. Then my last one, I don't know about the last one, but the next one, Commissioner Potter wasn't able to make it to the owners committee, so I have to do the update for that. And maybe our administrator, Kelly, could help me out. Anyway, a couple things that came up. The reveal that they're doing, remember we had talked about it, it has that bend in it. Alan Alan's not here, but he finally came up with a product and whatever that's going to do it, and it was a pretty reasonable price. It wasn't outrageous, and it's a hard surface, so it wouldn't scratch and whatever. So they're going to do that in the courtrooms, and the added cost was $14,500. So, and then there was some spots that was brought up by Captain O'Malley at the jail. There's some areas in the jail where they're not covered by camera. There's just some dead areas. And he said what happens is if there's going to be hanky-panky, something happen, the prisoners or inmates, whatever, kind of learn where they're not covered. So just in order to prevent anything like that, he's requesting some extra cameras. I don't know the exact cost, but he did say he'd be able to come up with half of it out of his budget, and I think we kind of tend to agree with that. Lee, do you remember the exact cost? It wasn't terrible.
Off the top of my head, I think it was around 18,000.
Right, so it'd be about 9,000 extra, but I thought that would be best, you know,
Is that in the existing jail or in part of the new building?
the existing.
It's
jail.
existing.
Yeah. And then the other thing that we had, it's just kind of concerning to me, the lights, we talked about them before where they had them planned to go across the hallway. The lights are, how is it? An inch or 5/8 of an inch longer than what it says in the material.
Longer or deeper?
Maybe a little bit different anyway. And so they're going to have to change that. Then they talked about making them the length of the hallway, which on the photos looked really funky to me, but they're saying it's not going to be that bad. Nobody looks at the ceiling. I guess nobody looks, so. That's going to come back to the board, I think. We did not really make a decision, I don't think, on that, did we, Lee? So that will come back to get talked about a little bit. But what bothers me, and I mentioned it at the meeting, this isn't our mistake. This is either the architect, the supplier of the lights, and some of the openings where they actually did it, the builder didn't build them to the right size. So I'm like, why should we pay for it? We should actually be compensated for it if we have to settle for something less, so.
I agree.
Anyway, I told them they're gonna be hearing from Commissioner Delyden about this one, so they're ready. And Lee, did you have any, the contingency fund, I think, is down. It's actually at a negative number right now, but because we're using funds in this for the parking lot that will be shared with the government center later. That's the only reason it went into negative numbers, so.
We'll actualize it on the completion.
Exactly.
Yep.
Correct.
GC.
Okay, and what did I miss?
Just a quick update, there was some thoughts on samples with Venetian plaster and some of the wall coverings on
Oh,
the courts
yeah.
room.
had-
They're looking at some different options, what to do with that, more research on that, because we had a sample made, approved the sample, and then it was applied to a larger area, and then we did not, it didn't turn out well.
It wasn't the same,
It wasn't the same, it was noticeably different, so Alan and crew are working through that.
and it's basically more of an art form, it's not just slop it on, you are an artist putting this stuff on, and the contractor, apparently, they just don't have the talent to do it, so we may have to come with a different surface now. Again, who should take that one on the chin?
Yeah.
So, and I know exactly what they're talking about. If you're at St. Mary's Church, we had a guy, and he is an artist that they actually passed away now, but he did that kind of a plaster texture, and oh my gosh, it's beautiful, but it takes, he went to school, I don't know how many classes he took to get qualified to do it. It's
a talent.
Oh, it's an art, yeah, so. Okay, but anyway,
All
close
right,
enough? Okay, that's it.
that's it. All right, Commissioner Bitch.
Last week, we had our organizational meeting for Trailblazer, very, very short meeting, shortest meeting I've ever been with for Trailblazer. I think it was like 35 minutes. We organized our officers. Commissioner Pinsky from Sibley County will be the chair this year, and Commissioner Kruger from McLeod County will be vice chair, and Kevin Castle, mayor of St. Michael, will be recorder for 2020. Other than that, it was just kind of updates on our ridership, and there was a thank you to Commissioner Potter for finding the storage for those extra buses until the expansion is completed. So passing that word along. We had our owners committee on the government center the previous week with some discussions. Most of the change order was revolving around the plumbing upgrades that we did for the dental center, and there's just some small pieces that had to do with that. Then there was also some cost mitigation pieces that we were looking at making some changes to. One of them was screening on the roof. So on the top, you have the two chiller units, and then in between there is the, I'm going to get it wrong whatever they are, but there's some individual units that are small in between. They had some perforated metal that was going to screen those units in between, but after discussion and looking at the visibility, because you wouldn't be able to see it from the east or west because of the chiller units would be blocking it already. And from the south, you basically wouldn't see it because of the highway department and the parks department. So the only way you could see it would be from the north, and the visibility would almost, because of the third story, you really wouldn't be able to see it unless you were about a quarter mile out. So we decided as a group that it would make sense because those screenings were at the cost of $70,000.
Ooh,
Yeah.
So, for something that, yeah, it was
Not necessary.
not necessary. It wasn't really serving a lot of function, so we removed that from the plan. Another discussion that myself and Commissioner Dahlheiden are going to have a discussion here with IT is about the raised floor. The original plan that was put together by our former IT director was for the data center to not have a raised floor. Our current IT is looking at having a raised floor, and the current Justice Center does not have a raised floor. The LEC does not have a raised floor. So it's the discussion is it necessary, is it not necessary? The cost of doing the raised floor is in the tune of about $40,000. And the difference is now as you go more cloud-based, those data centers potentially could be smaller in terms of equipment needs. They do serve a purpose with the raised floor in terms of offering airflow. So it's just kind of having to have some open discussions, myself and Commissioner Dahlheiden, to get IT's thoughts on it. I didn't feel comfortable making a decision one way or other without having a good discussion with them.
Well, you got time for that one
Yep.
anyway.
Other thing I do want to clear out the public. There is a rumor out there that we added another story to this building. Not true. It is still the same box. Yes. We did, yes, change the layout of the fourth floor and decided to close in some more, or finish off some more space and close in some more space on the top story because of the savings of the bids coming in low. But we did not add in another entire story to the building.
Oh, no.
It's not the fourth floor.
It's not the fourth floor. That's what I mean. I want people to understand that there was no fourth floor added to this building, so.
we have 0, 1, 2, and 3.
John, if you can help me clear that up in the public out there, that'd be great. We did not add a story to this building.
And if I might add, I voted against the building, but if you're gonna build the building, and this opportunity availed itself to make a bigger space where we will not be coming back to the public in my kid's life, to add on. So, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, we had the building was planned to put these added areas on, but it was so much cheaper to do it now than it would be to do it later. It's just, the area will be there now, even though it really won't be used. I would support that.
And then the other item was just, I had Central Mississippi Regional Planning Partnership this last week. Unfortunately, there must be a rampant amount of illness, so we had kind of a poor turnout, but we had our planners in from Planning Next on site from Ohio. We had a good discussion. They did interviews with a variety of the jurisdictions. We're going to be coming back this week again to kind of solidify our community engagement pieces and to work on doing a post-planning goal setting workshop. So more to come on that, but the progress is moving forward. Our road tour was canceled due to weather, even though the weather ended up coming in hours later than was predicted, but
You just don't know.
better to be safe than sorry. So that's all I have.
All right. A few things. Commissioner Dahlheiden and I have been involved with the union negotiations, and things are going well. We're moving right along, progressing with that. We had the township officers meeting, and all 5 commissioners were there at Buffalo Township, and thought we had a good night, and everyone gave good updates, and so it's nice to meet with all of our township officers quarterly. Commissioner Vetch and I were at the Law Enforcement Center for the breakfast with Rivers of Hope, and that was really a wonderful turnout. I mean, community members, legislators, and it was really great. And the Rivers of Hope was very pleased when the sheriff presented them with a check of over $14,000 for their very important work, so that was great. I was at Safe Communities of Wright County, and I got elected as the chair this year, and Dave Thompson from Howard Lake Police Department is the vice chair for the year. we got some information about, quit counting my ums, Charlie, from these, they did a student survey in vehicle safety, and the Minnesota student survey, this is 11th graders, they were asked questions about if they drive a vehicle and, how many times do you send or read text messages? And in Wright County, there's 52% of males and 54% of females reported they do send or read a text or email, so.
While
Driving.
driving.
And,
Did anybody tell them that that's illegal?
what's amazing is that so many people now, it's all the time. I see people on their phone all the time. I was on Highway 10 a couple of weeks ago and going, the 65 miles an hour or whatever, and here's this guy texting, it's like, this is not really safe. I'd like to have a little sign that would go up, what you're doing is illegal, but anyway, they're not really.
He was doing two-handed too, though?
He had it right on a steering wheel, and,
Oh, man.
Yep.
Charlie, knock it off.
But he's not the only one. It's just that, when you're going that fast, particularly, it definitely increases the dangers that people are experiencing. So anyway, and we talked a little bit about the vaping update, and of course, I hadn't heard this term before, but with the concentration of the nicotine in some of the pods, the 1 joule pod is like equal to 41 cigarettes, and some kids are getting acute nicotine poisoning, what's called Nick sick. So that's the first time I'd heard that term coined. But anyway, and we also had a sheet on the parent teen driver educations, and they, continue to be very successful for the students and the parents both. Not all schools participate in that, but they have a new booklet, Responsible Driving Handbook for Parents and Teens. And also the sober cab ridership is going down, but a lot of people, can get rides from friends and that kind of thing, but some of the bars that participate, they can call if someone feels they've had too much to drink, and
Sober
cabs.
The sober cab is still operating?
It's still operating. Yep.
Oh, I didn't think it was.
Yep. And
hear much about
the
it anymore.
ridership summary,
Oh, I thought that was all kind of done with.
nope, it's still going, but.
So how much, what is their budget? How much do they spend on that?
Well, Safe Communities of Wright County contributes $1 for a ride, but the bars chip in and the person or the people chip in, so. Yep, in 2019, there was still 2,464 sober cab ridership summaries, or ridership, so. It's still going, and it's not like in the heyday when there was, like 5,000, but still.
I said that's 2,400 people that chose not
That's
to be
right.
on the road
Yep.
when they're drinking.
Exactly, so it's good. Safe Communities continues to do a lot. They've got some mock crashes coming up, and the more we can get word out for safety with the engineering and, enforcement, education, and emergency medical services, it's a great collaborative effort. But I believe that is all I have for this week. Commissioner Potter.
I was out of town last week.
Ah, yes. You don't want to give any weather updates from Florida, or?
It was sunny. Motorcycle ran just fine. I-94 Coalition, there's a new grant program federally that just came out that we're going to apply for. Like the build grant that we've been applying for the last couple of years is another one. We were hoping that this supplement is due by the end of February. Hopefully we'll be able to get that last section from Albertville to Monticello, get that funded and constructed. At that point, all of 94, all the way through the county has been upgraded. And then we can start working on some of our other roads. At that point in time, like Highway 25, which needs to be 4-lane all the way to Buffalo, at some point in time, it's got to get on the radar, it's got to get going. We'll just keep moving forward.
Yep. All right, Commissioner Delighten.
Couple things. On the 11th, my son-in-law, grandson, and granddaughter were out on Ney Park with the dog sledding. And they filled that up very quickly, that
Yes.
dog sledding program. So I was talking with Brad out there about maybe expanding it. And what they're hoping to do is that once Bertram is a little bit more established out there, that they want to have another run set up out at Bertram for better exposure and stuff like that. So the grandkids just have a blast with it. The people that do it have some wonderful dogs, and they allow the grandkids to, or the kids to feed the dogs and pet them, and they're just, they have a blast. So something that to keep in mind for next year. It's all done this year, but as long as we have snow, it's a good thing. On the 10th, I met with Sherburne, Stearns, and Benton County for a new program that Wright County is involved in now. It's called the Home Visiting Coalition. It's an evidence-based program, and I like that we're working with other counties on this, sharing personnel. It's not something that we need exclusively for our county. So I like the idea that it's an evidence-based program, so that it's not something that is willy-nilly. There's an actual requirements that need to be met, and it has been proven throughout the country to actually work. So this is for those that need some additional help in raising their children and organizations and that sort of stuff. So, and it's used. Public health nurses are involved in this one. And I'd say that's enough just because, oh, there's one other thing I do want to mention. On the 15th, the canvassing board met.
Yes.
And there was 15 or 16 voters in Otsego County for the special election, or special primary for
Tuxedo Precinct.
Irwas position.
30, House District 30A.
15.
Yeah, 15 voters. And there's 680 registered voters in that small section. Precinct, yeah.
Wow.
So that was kind of humorous to.
Special elections are tough.
Yep,
Yeah.
they are.
You know, and it just goes to prove. But yeah, that's all the voters.
Well, it's a
that way.
primary of a special
It's a
election,
primary,
so it's
yeah.
even less, you know.
Great.
So I just thought that was kind of curious. And we have negotiations with the deputies on this coming Friday, so hopefully we'll continue to satisfy the unions and get those things settled.
Yep.
Good.
Great. Administrator Kelly.
Well, you didn't leave me much. I was going to talk about the Sheriff's Breakfast. I thought that was a great event for a great cause, and
Yes.
kudos to the Sheriff's Office and the members there that participated in that activity. That was great. Quick update with ERP. Last week we talked about procurement. This week we're working on gathering data and pulling some more things together. We have kind of an off week without cyber on site. We'll be looking to pick it up again next week with a little bit, and then the human capital, the HR portion of it will kick off on February 6th. So away we go with that. We mentioned the unions, I think, are going well. Fortunate that we don't have a, I've been watching St. Louis County and their strike up there with their plow drivers. That was an interesting situation. So
How to get that one settled?
they did finally after 15 hours of mediation on a Sunday.
God.
So
Hopefully we don't have to deal with that.
Hey,
What was the first thing you had mentioned? There was a question.
Sheriff's Breakfast,
No, after that.
ERP?
ERP,
Yes.
procurement.
Regarding the procurement analyst
Yep.
that was approved, Where are we at with that?
I believe that closes on the 2nd of February. It's been
So it's
posted.
been posted then?
Correct, it's my understanding.
I think that's gonna help the county as a whole to get things more organized and more uniform,
Yep.
instead of some of the things that are nilly-willy out there right now with different departments ordering different things when we could have a one standardized thing. So I think that's gonna end up saving the county money in the long run.
Just a note that ERP is Enterprise Resource Planning.
Sorry.
We get so used to our acronyms that we kind of forget.
I thought it stood for Excel replacement plan.
Okay, well, all
That too.
It's the subheading, yes.
right. Is there any other business to come before the board? If not, and just a reminder that we do have the 911 Planning Committee at 10:30, Commissioner Burrell.
Ooh.
And the Owners Committee at the Tactical Training Center at 1 o'clock. So, all right, with that, we are adjourned at 10 o'clock.